Hey, I'm Darren from Property Prosperity, and thanks for joining me. I thought today I'd let you in a bit of a secret, I suppose. A lot of people are really intimidated by auctions and are really scared about going to auctions, and they think, "Oh man, I'm not sure if I'll go to an auction because I'm going to pay too much." I thought I'd just let you know you don't have to be worried about auctions. Just understanding that auctions are like an artificial environment. They're not real. They're created by the agent to create this situation where the agent can control the sales negotiation process. And so, and quite often, they're not even involved in that anyway. What they do is they outsource it and get an auctioneer to come in and do the auction process. So basically, all the agent does is hands out a few flyers and rocks up to the open and stands next to the auctioneer and takes down names when they put in bids. So, hi Isaac, thanks for joining. So yeah, I thought I'd just explain to you how you don't have to be worried about this whole auction thing. And the reason that is just understand it's not a real environment. It's just created by the agent. So what you need to do is understand the agent's just trying to control the situation. So what you need to do is you need to come in and try and control the situation too. So you really, and the reason that's why I called it a hack, really, you think like a hacker, really. You're going to get out there and try and disrupt the system, I suppose, or disrupt the process, so that then you can sort of take back a bit of control over the process. So it's going to be different depending on what's happening with the auction. So again, with like anything to do with property, research is the key. Getting lots of information up front, making sure you're really, really informed, having a really good idea of firstly what the property is worth, but then secondly what you're willing to pay for it. If you're a developer, obviously investigating all your options. Developers can generally pay a little bit more for things because you're creating value out of the property as well, so you've got a bit more to play with. So make sure you do research when you rock up at the start of it. You're probably going to have a good idea just based on feedback from the agent and also going to the opens prior to that, whether people are interested or not. And if you know that not many people are going to be going to the open, that's going to change the way your strategy of dealing with auctions. And if you were, you're rocking up to opens and there's like 50 people there, and you know that there's 40 people who've registered to bid, then that's going to be a totally different situation. So again, it really depends on how it's going to work out. But what you want to do is you want to come in there knowing that a lot of people are really intimidated by auctions. So you've got to go in there with the opposite, basically. You've got to do the opposite for everybody. So if everyone's intimidated, you've got to be not intimidated. You've got to go in there controlling the process. So what that could mean is, really is there's lots of different ways to try and stand out or show your authority on the process. I'm more than happy to go through that in a bit more detail, but really there's, I suppose just be a bit creative, really. If you know that you want to make it stand out, you want people to know that you're controlling this process, then you really have to get into the bid. And, that either might mean come in with a high bid from the start, or come in with lots of small bids, or just really pushing the buttons of the people involved to let them know that you're controlling this process, not the agent, not the auctioneer, not the other bidders. And so then they know that, you won't be intimidated. And what that means, if they know they've got someone that seems really experienced and really knowledgeable and not going to be intimidated by other people, that makes them more intimidated. And it makes them more likely just to say, hey, well, this guy's just going to blow me out of the water because he knows what he's talking about and I don't really know what I'm talking about. So you've got to get in there. Again, that's where knowledge and experience and doing all your research up front, knowing how far you can push things. But that's going to scare off a lot of people if you come in there with this really strong attitude. The other way of doing it is you go to an auction and no one's going to turn up, or one or two people are going to turn up. Understand, in different states in Australia they have different things, but they have things called a vendor bid. And in the old days, agents used to sort of make up bids, and they'd make, the fence would be bidding and the tree would be bidding and up against you. So they were sort of making up bids to try and get you to bid a bit higher. They've made that against the law now, and so, which you'd understand why. And then they've brought in these things called vendor bids, where the auctioneer can bid on behalf of the owner, which is stupid. That doesn't make any sense why the owner would bid to buy their own property. But that's what they do anyway. And so in Adelaide, they're only allowed to do 3 vendor bids. And so again, that doesn't make any sense as well, but that's what they do. And so you might find you go to an auction and no one puts any bids in at all. And then they'll put in a vendor bid. And they'll put in a vendor bid. Let's say they think it's going to sell for 400. They put a vendor bid at 420. And then no one else puts in a bid. And they go vendor bid at 430 something. So it's nuts. So they're basically bidding against themselves when no one else is bidding. Understand that vendor bids aren't real bids. You're not bidding against anybody. So you don't have to bid the same or more as what the vendor bid is. So if the vendor bid is 420, you don't have to bid 422 or 425 or 440. You can come in at 350. You can do whatever you want because that vendor bid is not a real bid. You're not bidding against them. So just understand that. And the reason why you would come in lower than the vendor bid is, firstly, you're the first real person actually bidding. And then secondly, so then if other people do start involving in the bidding process, they'll start from the 350, not starting it from the 420, which is, so basically you've started at a lot lower price point from the start of the bidding. So again, if the bidding stops at 370, you've ended up better deal than starting at 420. So that's the first thing to understand. Second thing to understand is, even if you put in a really low offer, say 350, and then no one else puts in a bid and the bidding stops there, you have the option then of, because you were the only person that put in a bid, you're going to find then the agent is going to bring you into the room saying, hey, 350 is a bit low, you know, that you can tell they wanted 420, you know, what can you do to try and get it up to the price? Understanding that when you're bidding in that environment, or you're negotiating with the agent in that environment, that's essentially the same as an auction. So you're in auction terms and conditions. So understand that you have to abide by all those rules. So if it's cash unconditional, settled in 30 days type thing, then it's going to be the same rules. So yeah, so you can get in there. You got the first right to negotiate, and so then you can go and wheel and deal the owner then, just as if you were in a normal negotiating situation, whereas not in the auction. You still have the auction terms and conditions, but you have more time to sit and have a think about it, and you have more time to go backwards and forwards and try to come to a happy agreement then. So if you go to an auction and no one else bids, then put in a low bid and just see what happens, because at least you're in a chance, and you never know, they might need to sell it in a hurry, and they might give you a bargain basement price then. So the other thing I just touched on then was terms and conditions. So we talked about, traditionally auctions are cash unconditional, which means there's no terms or conditions, and you have to have cash in the bank ready to pay straight away, so it's not subject to finance or anything. And you also generally have to settle in 30 days, which means you need money sitting there ready to go, which for most people, that's not going to happen. Thing to understand, the agents tell you need to do that, but you can still negotiate that prior to the auction. So if you meet with the agent for that and said, hey, I can't settle for 60 days, they're still they're not going to let you settle with subject to finance, because that's the whole deal of the whole auction thing. That's how they sold it to the vendor, is that, hey, it's cash unconditional. But they will give you terms as far as, things like your deposit. They might say, oh, you're going to put down a 10% deposit, but you might say, hey, I've only got $5,000. I'll put down $5,000 deposit. And so you can negotiate terms as far as that goes. Not the cash unconditional thing, not subject to, subject to the sale of your house or any of that sort of stuff. So it's really just means the settlement date and the deposit amount. You might be able to put some other terms in there, like I want access to the property prior to a certain point of time, or some other different things if you want to be a little bit creative. But so just understand, you can get in there and start controlling this process. The agent doesn't have all the power. And again, that's how you can get in there and get a really good deal, and how you can not be intimidated by the auction process, because it's all, the ball's in your court. At the end of the day, you're the one with the money. You're the one that can make decisions on whether you want to buy it or not. And the agent and the owner, they want your money. So they should be negotiating with you. You shouldn't have to be doing what they want you to do. So hopefully you've got some value out of that, guys. And if you've liked what I had to say, then click on the like button. If you haven't liked it, then click on the like button anyway, because I'd really appreciate it. And if you think someone's out there this weekend about to buy something at auction, they might find it interesting, then click on the share button and send it through to them, and hopefully they'll find it useful. And if you've got any questions for the future, if you'd like to make a comment on what I've said today, then put a comment in the comment box. I really appreciate your feedback. And also, if you've got any questions for the future and you want me to answer them, put in the comment in there, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have in the future. So thanks, guys, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks.